My parents wanted me to drop out of college to support their lazy golden child at our family shop. When I refused, they cut me off financially, so I moved out and went no contact. I'm a 20-year-old guy in my second year of college, majoring in a field I genuinely enjoy. Growing up, my parents always ran a small family shop in town. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. My mother and father poured endless hours into it, often grumbling about how they hoped one day I'd take over. I never had a particular interest in retail, but I helped out sometimes stacking shelves or manning the register for extra pocket money. It felt like a basic family obligation, nothing more. I also have a younger sibling who everyone in the family calls the golden child. He's 18, but from as far back as I can remember, our parents spoiled him. They let him laze around while I did chores, gave him new gadgets for every minor achievement, and practically never scolded him. Whenever I brought it up, my father would shrug, saying my brother needed more encouragement to succeed. I always found that odd, but I kept my head down, focusing on my studies. Things changed drastically this past semester. One night, I came home from college for a weekend visit, expecting a normal family dinner. Instead, my parents called me into the living room with serious faces. My brother sat off to the side, fiddling with his phone as if bored by the entire scenario. My mother cleared her throat. We've decided it's time you step up at the family shop. We want you to drop out of college. I blinked, thinking it was some twisted joke. But my father cut in. Your brother will be helping. Well, eventually. But he's not ready yet. We need someone reliable right now. Stunned, I asked why they'd want me, who's on track with decent grades, to abandon school. My mother explained my brother wasn't motivated and needed more free time to figure himself out. Meanwhile, the shop was understaffed, and they refused to hire more workers. They believed it was my duty as the eldest to sacrifice for the family. I pushed back, reminding them I was only halfway through my degree, that I had career goals beyond the shop. My father dismissed that with a wave. Our family business is more important. You can go back to school in a few years, maybe. A pit formed in my stomach. I'd worked hard to get into college, paying part of my tuition with scholarships and part from my parents' help. The idea of tossing it all away so my brother could lounge around was surreal. My father's tone grew sharp. We're done discussing. Either you come help the shop full-time, or you'll be on your own. I locked eyes with my mother, hoping for any sign of softness. She just nodded at my father's words. My brother smirked, as if smugly amused. It was like they'd all choreographed this confrontation. I took a breath and calmly said, I'm not quitting college. My father's face hardened. My mother tried guilt-tripping me. We sacrificed so much for your education already. Now it's your turn. She peppered in how the shop had always been the family's livelihood, how they expected me to pick up the baton. None of it swayed me. I repeated, I won't drop out. My father's eyes blazed. Then we're cutting you off, he snapped. No more tuition money, no more living expenses. Figure it out if you insist on defying us. My world reeled. They knew I couldn't easily pay the rest of my college fees on my own. But I swallowed my fear. This was too big a demand to roll over and comply. Fine, I managed to say, voice trembling. Then I stood up and left the house, ignoring my brother's smug chuckle. I spent the night at a friend's place, mind racing, trying to figure out how I'd salvage my education without parental support. Even then, I had no inkling just how badly they'd escalate things, or that I'd end up cutting them out of my life altogether. The next morning, I woke up groggy on my friend's couch. My phone buzzed with messages from my parents. My father's texts were curt. We're serious. If you don't comply, you're on your own. My mother wrote, we did everything for you. Why can't you help us now? Your brother needs freedom to discover himself. My brother remained silent. He rarely ever texted me. Probably too busy enjoying his new gaming console or something else my parents had bought him. Trepidation swelled in me. I needed a plan, some way to cover my tuition. The initial deposit for this semester was already paid, but the next ones wouldn't be. I also had rent for my small off-campus place, which until now my parents partially covered. My job as a part-time waiter barely handled groceries and textbooks. Could I take extra shifts? Could I get a student loan? My mind spun with possibilities. That same day, I decided to head back home to gather my stuff. If my parents were serious about cutting me off, I wasn't sure I'd be welcome to stay there. When I arrived, the atmosphere was tense. My mother asked if I'd come to my senses. I gently but firmly repeated that I wouldn't drop out. She frowned, brandishing the shop's ledger, as if that would persuade me. Look, we're short-staffed. Your father and I can't handle it alone. Your brother? Well, he's not reliable. I asked, why not hire help? She threw up her hands like I was clueless, mumbling about finances. It was bizarre. They could pay me if they wanted, so paying an outsider should be no different. Unless they expected me to work for peanuts. My father marched in, face flushed, pointing an accusing finger. You owe us, boy. We raised you, paid for you. Now it's your turn. He rattled off how I'd used up countless resources. But I'd never asked them to run the shop that way, or to spoil my brother. That was their choice. And it didn't justify me torpedoing my future. At that moment, my brother sauntered out of his bedroom, ears hooked by earphones. He smirked. So, are you going to do the right thing and drop out or what? The sheer arrogance stung. I fired back. Why don't you step up if the shop need help? He rolled his eyes. I'm not cut out for grunt work. I have bigger dreams. The hypocrisy reeked. He was older than me by only 2 years, yet they babied him as though he was helpless. Sick of the hostility, I began grabbing my clothes, my laptop, whatever essentials I could find. My mother hovered, tears welling up, calling me ungrateful. My father cursed under his breath about how I'd see sense eventually. As I stuffed things into a duffel, my father hissed, if you leave now, don't bother coming back. We're done paying for anything. That includes your phone plan, your rent, everything. I paused, heart pounding, but mustered my determination. I'll figure it out, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. Then, with one last glare from my father and a triumphant grin from my brother, I lugged my bags to my car and drove off. No longer having a place to call home, I crashed at a friend's place temporarily. My parents canceled my phone line the next day, as promised. I quickly switched to a cheap prepaid plan. My bank account saw a flurry of reversed payments for rent. My mother apparently had all my auto-pay details. I scrambled to change everything. The bleak reality. I was truly on my own, with minimal savings, half a semester of tuition still due, and no family support. Panic set in, but it also lit a fire under me. I visited my college's financial aid office, explained my predicament. An advisor was sympathetic, suggesting I apply for an emergency scholarship or a small personal loan. It wouldn't fully cover everything, but it might bridge the gap. I also asked my manager at the restaurant if I could pick up more shifts. He hesitated, but eventually gave me a few additional hours. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a lifeline. Amid this chaos, texts from my parents trickled in through social media since my phone number changed. My father ranted, we still expect you to come to your senses. The offer stands, drop out, come help the shop, and we'll fix everything. My mother wrote guilt-laced messages about tearing the family apart. She insisted my brother was fragile and needed me to carry the load. None of it swayed me. Instead, I started to realize how much they'd coddled him for years, expecting me to fill in the gaps. My brother made a single cameo message, mocking me for playing the victim and calling me foolish for refusing an easy path. Easy path? He was the one refusing to lift a finger to help the family business. The hypocrisy was astounding. Over time, I discovered a few extended family members had heard a twisted version of events. My father told them I'd abandoned the family shop to chase a useless degree, leaving them in dire straits. Some aunts and uncles scolded me, telling me to be more responsible, to do the right thing. I tried explaining that my parents wanted me to bail out my lazy brother so he could stay carefree. Some believed me, others didn't. The stress was immense, but I pressed on. Juggling classes, extra work shifts, and managing finances was brutal, yet also liberating in a strange sense. For the first time, I felt in control of my own destiny. No father barking orders, no mother guilt tripping me to coddle my brother. Though physically and mentally exhausted, I sensed a new independence blossoming. As the semester wore on, I got word from a friend who sometimes visited the family shop. Apparently, my brother barely showed up. My parents were frantically doing all the grunt work themselves, complaining about how someone had betrayed them. My friend said the atmosphere there was sour, customers noticing the tension. I felt a flicker of pity. My parents were stuck, but they'd created this mess. They'd pinned all their hopes on me abandoning my dreams. Now the business was floundering, thanks to their golden child's refusal to step up. Meanwhile, I hammered away at my studies, determined to prove I could do this without them. My landlord was surprisingly understanding when I explained I'd pay rent a bit late, thanks to the change situation. I kept my head low, avoided drama, and kept focusing on the next day's tasks, finishing essays, memorizing recipes for the restaurant's daily special. It wasn't easy. Some nights, I'd lie awake, anger surging about how my parents had turned on me so quickly. But each day also strengthened my resolve. I refused to buckle under their manipulative demands. Gradually, I built a new routine. My friend's couch turned into a short-term stay. Then another friend offered a room to rent cheaply. I scraped enough money to cover the deposit. Step by step, I was forging a path independent of my family. And though the scars of betrayal lingered, a part of me felt proud. Near the end of that semester, I received a surprise call from my mother, using an unfamiliar number. I hesitated but answered. She sounded weary, no longer confrontational, but still laced with guilt trips. She admitted the shop was struggling, that my brother never pulled his weight, and they were close to going under. She pleaded for me to come back, not with an apology, but with a rehashed argument. He's your brother. You have to help him. She glossed over how they'd abandoned my education, cut my finances. Instead, she tried painting me as the savior again. This is your chance to make amends, she said, as though I was the one who'd wronged them. I exhaled, anger stirring. You forced me out, canceled my support, tried to make me drop out. Now that your golden child isn't stepping up, you want me to fix everything. She stammered about family loyalty, tradition, how I owed them for raising me. I felt a pang of sorrow for her, but the betrayal was too deep to ignore. I told her calmly I wasn't returning to the shop or the household. I'm finishing my degree, paying my own way. I'm done being your fallback plan. She cried, calling me ungrateful. My father's voice came on speaker, accusing me of destroying the family. He repeated the same lines from months ago. Come home, help the shop, or we'll never speak again. I realized with clarity that they'd never apologize or admit wrongdoing. They just wanted a sacrificial lamb to keep the business afloat. I ended the call, letting their words hang in the air. That night, I made the decision to go fully no contact. I blocked their numbers, removed them on social media, and informed any meddling relatives that I wasn't open to further discussion. It felt drastic, but each new contact with them only reopened wounds. I had no illusions that they'd see sense soon. Maybe they never would. Since then, I've maintained my coursework, kept up with my job, and though it's a grind, I'm on track to graduate. Without the constant emotional burden of my parents' demands, I'm actually thriving academically. Sometimes I hear from mutual acquaintances that the shop's on the brink of closing, that my brother flaked out entirely, maybe got bored. While I don't relish seeing my parents' livelihood fail, I also don't regret standing my ground. They pinned everything on me dropping out, ignoring that I have my own ambitions and future. It stings to recall how quickly they turned on me when I refused to be their stopgap. But in a strange way, I'm grateful for the clarity. I learned that unconditional family love for them was contingent on blind obedience. Once I set my own path, they withdrew support, manipulative and harsh. So I cut them off financially, emotionally, and physically. It was the only way to protect myself from their manipulative demands. There are lonely moments, yes, but the sense of self-respect is worth it. I share this now because maybe someone else is facing a similar ultimatum from entitled relatives. Standing firm might be painful. You might lose financial support or face guilt trips. But if you truly believe in your goals, you can find a path on your own. My parents wanted me to sacrifice my future for their golden child. I refused, moved out, and went no contact. No regrets. I'll finish my degree, keep my dignity, and forge a life that's truly mine, free from their controlling grip.